Hey guys, it's Kevin with Mix Coach. Time for another episode of the Mix Coach Minute. Thank you guys for liking what we do. Be sure that if you see a video on here that you want us to talk more about, or maybe you'd like to see Stone write a more in-depth article on MixCoach.com, just give it one of these on Facebook or YouTube, and that will let us know that you like this article. And the lack of these will let us know that you didn't like it, and we won't do any of these anymore. But okay, yesterday we talked to Stone about some Stone Phillips investigative reporter style that he does on some of the things that we talk about, and he's done it again today. A few episodes ago, I talked about vocal miking and how that. Let's see if you can see my hand here. That when you put a vocalist, it was about getting a great vocal sound, and it was about getting a great vocalist. And the fact that when you put someone really close to a mic like this, if they know what they're doing, then when they sing a loud note, they pull off. That when they double the distance from the microphone, it is 6 dB. Likewise, when they go in and half the space between their mouth and the microphone, the sound goes up 6 dB. And then I said that when you're standing far from a microphone and you do the same action, physical action, where you pull your head back just a little bit, it doesn't make as much difference. And so that's why it's important that you should find the sweet spot of a mic to where, the vocalist, what their actions, if they are experienced singing and capturing their vocal in a microphone, then that you have got the sweet spot and that their actions are actually making a lot of difference. Well, Stone has done a little bit more investigation and he's found, and it's what we're calling the 6 dB law. I don't know if that's officially what it's called, but that's what if my vocalists are capable of using this law and it not affecting their performance, then I tell them about it. In other words, I'll say, what I just told you, when you're this close to the mic and you do this, it makes a lot more difference for me. I may not go into the dB or sound pressure levels and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so with that being said, I'd like to toss it over to Stone, our investigative reporter. and Stone, why don't you tell us what you found about the 6 dB and the 100%? I was fascinated by the percentages that you gave me. So take it
Sure.
away.
Well, what I think was interesting, Kev, as an extension of what you said about, a mic technique, is I was thinking, well, how do you apply that to mixing? If you have a fader set at a particular level and you raise it by 1 dB, what is 1 dB? What is 2 dB? What is 3 dB? We could say, well, it's, the sound is now 1 dB louder or 2 dB louder or 3 dB louder, but what does that mean in concrete terms? So I went and did a little bit of digging in it, and I found some interesting stuff online from one of the door manufacturers on their website. They're talking about how their metering works in their particular door.
Mm-hmm.
And they said something interesting, that when you increase the volume of something by 6 dB, you're actually increasing the volume by twice the amount, twice the original level, and what that basically means is that you're increasing the volume by 200%.
Mm-hmm.
So a 6 dB increase in something makes something twice as loud as it was before. So if, for example, you have a kick that's, say, at 0 dB and your vocal is at 6 dB, in theory, your vocal is twice as loud as the kick. So if you're trying to mix those two elements together, it may be hard to make it work in the context of the mix, because the vocal might be too loud or the kick might be too soft, depending on what's going on around it.
Mm-hmm.
So tying back into something you said in the other, I think the anchor points mix code minute, when you set a level on, say, the kick at -10 or whatever it is, you can now start to gauge where the vocal should be in relation to that, or where the bass should be in relation to that by percentage. For example, do you want the vocal to be 20% louder than the kick, or do you want it to be 200% louder than the kick? Because if it's 6 dB louder, it's actually 200% louder. So I think taking that understanding is a really cool way to get a sense of where the various elements are at in your mix. The other thing that was interesting was, I found as well that 1 dB is actually a 10% increase in volume. So I don't understand the math behind it. There's this long formula that they have for calculating how it works. But what we do know is 1%, 1 dB is 10%, 6 dB is 200%, or twice the volume, and 12 dB is a 400% volume increase, or it's 4 times the volume of something else.
Wow. That really puts things in perspective when it comes to. I'm thinking of some of the things I've covered before, like the hierarchy of mixing, to where you tend to mix the drums and bass first, and then supporting instruments, and then supporting vocals, and then the lead vocals. And I'm just
Yeah,
wondering. I'm sure if I mention this, you'll probably do some research on it. But I'm just wondering how all that plays in. What makes something last, what percentage it actually adds to the dB level that you're
Mm,
mixing, because I tell you what, you tend to mix what's
yeah,
loudest.
yeah,
So I'm wondering about that. That's some really good information. I was kind of fascinated to hear that 1 dB is 10%. So
mm,
when you put things in that perspective, it you know, if someone asks for their vocal just a little louder, you know, and I think we may cover this in a later discussion, but
mm,
how much is a little louder, and how much is,
yeah,
how much do you feel, and how much do but yeah, that is very interesting, Stone. Yeah, I would love to see that formula too.
yeah.
What is 10?
I tried to. I got one of those scientific calculators and tried to figure out. It was beyond above my pay grade, as they say.
Well,
I thought it was really cool because even in relation to yesterday's Mix Coach Minute, where we were talking about like the average or ballpark levels for finished mixed stems, and we're saying, for example, that drums can come in between -22 to -19, and vocals are usually around -18. So that shows you that the vocals in most or at least a lot of the finished stem sessions that I've studied are just 4 dB louder than the drums. So that's somewhere in between your 10% and 200%. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's just 4 dB louder.
so 3 dB would be 50% louder or
I
100?
don't know. I can't figure that out because
Oh,
I think
my
it's one of
mind is
those
blown.
curves. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
one of those curved scales where as it goes, it's exponential rather than linear. So it's not
Hmm.
like you double it and then you get to the next
Right.
thing. It's because otherwise one dB wouldn't be 10%. It would just be a sixth of 6 dB, which is 200%. So
Well, I think it's encouraging. I don't remember if we talked about this on camera or off camera, but I think it's interesting and encouraging that most mixes that you hear, that are commercial mixes that you hear on the radio or whatever, do tend to have a formula that's
mm,
attached to it. And we're in this series of interviews and Q&A and whatever we call this that we're doing actually here, we're finding that there is a formula, and that it's attainable, and that learning to mix can be something and that you have innately kind of built into your DNA, but it's also a skill that
yeah.
you learn.
Mm,
And you tend to learn that, in this kind of music, this needs to be louder than this by a certain percentage. So
mm.
I love the work you're doing.
I think it's interesting as well because if you think about if you listen to a particular radio station, with a particular genre, say a country music station or I don't know, a pop station, top 40, a lot of the mixes they have to feel like they belong together.
Right.
So it's usually completely different mixes that have mixed it, but the relationship between the vocals and the drums or the vocals and the bass is usually pretty similar from song to song. So there has to be some commonality between all of these mixes.
Yeah.
And I think if you kind of get at that commonality, you're kind of whether you do it instinctively or you actually consciously make the effort to try and figure out what those things are and practice,
Right.
shaping your mixes that way. I think you get closer towards a professional sounding mix.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Stone, for
No
that
problem at all.
information. I'm gonna be processing that, and I'm gonna try to stay into my pay grade, as you say, and try not to blow my mind with numbers, because I never was good at numbers. So anyway, thank you so much, Stone. Guys, if you like this kind of stuff, be sure and give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video and Facebook if that's where you're watching it, and come by and check out Mixed Coach Member when you get a chance. And we will see you tomorrow.